folks. Welcome to the third of a series that we're doing, looking at questions that arose out of a Q&A program on ABC television at Easter time. And today we're going to look at the question of Islam. Now, you may be of the opinion, as many are, that all religions or all faiths are essentially the same, and therefore it is discriminatory or wrong to favour one above another. Now, I don't want to get into the whole argument about that, except simply to say that that can actually be quite patronising and actually doesn't make any sense. So, for example, Islam, which we're going to look at in a moment, says it's blasphemous to say that Jesus is God or the Son of God. Christianity says it is essential. It's our faith that Jesus is the God-man, if you like. He's the God who became man, or the man who is God. A cannot be non-A. They cannot both be right. And to say it doesn't really matter, it's just how you live, is what I mean by saying it's patronising. But I was really interested in this program when the Muslim representative, one of the Muslims there, made this statement. Here's Fatima answering a question from Stan. Listen to this.
Andrew makes the point that it's often geographic, and often when you look at other faiths, there is growth. And there's a lot of growth in Islam. What's the difference there? Can you talk about what is the attraction for people, and people who are also making the conversion, or reversion as you would say, to Islam, versus the decline of Christianity, particularly in the West?
I wouldn't really focus on the decline of Christianity, and I will only speak on behalf of the Muslim faith, Islam. And I think people are starting to notice that, for me in particular, faith provides that sense of morality, that sense of guidance. It holds me accountable for my actions. It's a source of, humility, and it keeps me grounded. So I can only speak for myself, and I think the idea of justice, equality, and freedom of expression is what makes Australia such a beautiful nation in terms of us being able to express the various faiths and backgrounds we come from.
Well, there's a lot more to explore.
Now, it's fascinating. I mean, she doesn't want to say anything about the decline of Christianity. Actually, Christianity is not declining in most of the world. It's growing in most of the world, in Africa, in Asia and elsewhere. But it is true that there has been a decline in the Western world. It's also true, by the way, that programs like the ABC, they will never criticize Islam. Criticize Christianity, no problem, but they won't criticize Islam. But notice what Fatima said. I thought it was really interesting that it was about a sense of morality. Well, don't you get morality without religion? You may think this is strange for me to say so, but I think you do. I think the Bible teaches us that all human beings are moral agents. We don't need religion to give us morality. Now, it may be that religious teachers can help us understand morality, but sometimes religions can be a cause of immorality as well. And I include a lot of Christianity in that. I don't think Christianity is primarily a system of morals or guidance. In what sense does Islam guide? In what sense does Christianity guide? I think these are legitimate questions. Or accountability. Are we saying that people who are not Muslims are not accountable, or people who are not Christians are not accountable? I think we are accountable. I think we are moral. Humility. Well, there's a lot of people who are religious people, they don't exactly come across as humble. And again, I'm not picking on any one particular faith. Or justice. This is the interesting one for me. I remember when we began our work in Dundee, and a lot of which was amongst Muslims, I was summoned to a local imam, and I went to see him, and there was a white convert, shall we say, from England who was there, and he was raging. He was really angry. And it was interesting, by the way, because I said to the imam, we are not picking on Muslims. We believe our responsibility is to bring the gospel to everyone, including Muslims. And we felt, in fact, that we were excluding a whole section of the community. 10% were Muslim, most of whom were Pakistanis. And I said, our aim is not to try and convert because we don't believe that we can. We believe that only God does that. And the Imam turned to the white convert and said to him, well, I agree with my brother David. Let's leave it at that. Let God decide. And I thought, yeah, good. That's where we're at. But what struck me about when I asked the white guy, why did you become a Muslim? He said, I went to churches and all they talked about was the love of God. There was no justice. I actually thought it was pretty compelling in lots of ways. So justice, yes, where does justice come from? And then the thing that struck me there was about freedom and equality. So there's lots of questions I would have for Fatima. Is it really the case that there is freedom and equality in Islamic countries? I went to speak at an Islamic institute once. It was meant to be a more liberal one. Obviously, I was a Christian pastor. And I went and spoke on the Islamic doctrine of tolerance, which there is one. And I was shocked when I asked the question, do you think there should be government penalties against someone who converts from Islam? And these were liberal Muslims. A handful said yes, and it should be death for apostasy. The vast majority said, yes, there should be some. You should not be allowed to change your religion. Well, you should not be allowed to change your religion from Islam. I want to know the Islamic countries where people are free to choose their religion, where Christians are free to build churches, and when there isn't persecution. See, the equality and freedom of expression, I don't think Fatima would think that people should be allowed, for example, to attack the Quran in the way they attack the Bible, or to burn a Quran, or to make cartoons of Muhammad. So the freedom of expression, I find that one quite hard to buy. By the way, I agree that there should be limits on freedom of expression, but what limits and on what basis? So I was quite intrigued that someone like Fatima can go on Q&A and can make statements like that, which suit a Western audience. It's just about, my religion is just about personal morality and personal guidance, and it doesn't interfere too much with my politics. And I don't see how that can be. I think if you've read the Quran, and I have read the Quran, and if you read Islamic writers, Islam is a political religion as well, and has significant political consequences. It has its own laws, Sharia law. So for me, I just don't buy it. I don't buy into it at all. And then in the wider question, I want to say this. I'm not sure I buy into any religion in the sense of even like kind of nominal Christianity and things like that. I want a religion that's real, that really does change people, that we're not bound by law, that there's forgiveness. Is there forgiveness in Islam? Do you know God in Islam? I thought he was unknowable. Or is it all just submission to the Allah? You know, I got a lot of respect for a lot of Muslims, but I have a lot of questions as well. And it seems to me that the program like Q&A doesn't do the Q&A when it comes to Islam. So there's a lot there, a lot to think about. I long for my Muslim brothers and sisters, if you like, to come to know who Jesus is. There's a wonderful book, Seeking Allah, Finding Jesus. If you're watching this and you are a Muslim and you're interested, drop me a line and I'm very happy to send you a copy. And I'm very happy to discuss this with anybody. But I don't think the answer to our society's problems is found in religion. I really don't. And I don't want to be part of an Islamic society. I really don't. I want to be part of a free society which welcomes and includes Muslims. But I don't want Islamic law, and I want the freedom to live and to follow Christ. So, God bless you. Got any questions, get in touch, and next week we'll look at another question from Q&A. Bye.